It is official. UFC 304 will be happening in Manchester, and it's not often that us lot in the UK manage to get a UFC pay-per-view. Now, because the event has been announced for the UK, I thought what better idea than to matchmake a few fights on the big card. And we're going to start off with the main event, and that is Leon Edwards taking on Belal Muhammad. Now, I know a lot of people probably be like, oh, that's a boring fight. But let's be honest, Belal Muhammad deserves his title shot now. You know, he's been grafting. He's got some decent wins over the likes of Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady, Wonderboy, Vicente Luque. He's got some notable wins, and I think he's very well due his title shot. Obviously, this is a rematch between the two. This fight took place, I think, COVID times, where I think it was a DQ win, or no, not a DQ win. I forgot, was it a no contest? I can't remember what happened. I just remember Leon Edwards got his fingers stuck inside of Belal Muhammad's eye. Belal Muhammad started crying, and yeah, that's what happened from that. Then Leon went on to fight Nate Diaz and got the title shot, and obviously became a champion. And now we're back to where we are, and we're going to get a rematch between the two. Maybe there's an option for Leon Edwards to take on Shavkat. I would understand that, and I think that's a much more entertaining fight, an interesting fight. But I still think Belal Muhammad versus Leon, a rematch, is quite interesting. I don't think it's going to be entertaining. Let me put that out there. But I do believe it will be very interesting, because I don't think people are giving Belal Muhammad the credit he deserves. You know, he's picked up a fair few wins recently, and not only that, I feel like it's been quite clear he's made improvements, especially with his stand-up. You know, I think he was able to drop Gilbert Burns. Then again, who doesn't drop Gilbert Burns with a fucking jab? I'm pretty sure that's how Belal Muhammad was able to drop Gilbert Burns. Granted, apparently Gilbert Burns went into that fight very injured, but that's not Belal Muhammad's fault. That's Gilbert Burns' fault. If you're that injured, don't take the fucking fight. But regardless, I'm quite interested in that fight. Again, I know it'll be quite boring, but I think Belal can cause a few problems for Leon that a lot of people aren't really seeing. But I still think Leon Edwards would win that fight by decision. In the co-main event, we'd have Tom Aspinall defending his interim title. I know, that's a fucking joke, by the way, but he'll be defending his interim title against Curtis Blaydes. Now, I don't mind this matchup, simply because Curtis Blaydes obviously just got the big win over Jailton Almeida. A lot of people thinking Almeida was going to win that, and Blaydes was able to get the finish against Almeida, although he did get ragdolled in the first round. Aspinall's obviously now the interim champion, looking very impressive, and his last outing against Pavlovich. And when these two did meet, I think it was 2 years ago, it ended like abruptly within like the first 10 seconds, I think it was, when Tom Aspinall injured his knee, and we didn't really get to see much. Maybe just like a little quick exchange, but nothing too, you know, too serious. And I'd love to see this rematch. I think stylistically, Gilbert Burns. Curtis Blaydes is quite a stylistic hard matchup for Tom Aspinall. We've never seen Aspinall against a grappler. People act like Blaydes is going to get ran through by Aspinall, and that could definitely happen. I wouldn't put it past Tom Aspinall to walk through Curtis Blaydes, you know, because Curtis Blaydes to me always seems to fold in the big matchups, like when they matter, against Ngannou, against Pavlovich, against Derek Lewis, and you know, I just feel like we haven't seen Tom Aspinall against a proper grappler like Curtis Blaydes. But Curtis Blaydes didn't even bother using his grappling against Pavlovich. So who fucking knows, you know. Aspinall, again, could very well walk through Curtis Blaydes. Now, obviously, we would all want Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. But let's be real, guys. That fight is not going to happen anytime soon. It might not even happen at all. John Jones is more interested in fighting the ghost of Stipe Miocic. You know, I don't think he's scared of Tom Aspinall. I think he's just very aware that there's an easier retirement fight right there for him and Stipe. Stipe, a big name to some extent, you know, would look good for his resume. And, you know, he can easily retire against Stipe rather than taking on the new up-and-comer Tom Aspinall. Although he thinks Stipe is probably better for his legacy, which it might be, you know, Tom Aspinall might end up falling off. I don't think he will. But, you know, why take that risk? It is a shame as an MMA fan, but we probably just won't get that fight. So, Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes, the rematch in Manchester. I would happily take that. We then move on to Paddy the Baddie. Now, who could Paddy fight? I feel like he has a few options, but I feel like the best option would make a lot of sense when it comes to like star power is Bobby Green. I think Paddy the Baddie wins that fight. Now, like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I thought Bobby Green would style on Paddy Pimblett. But I feel like I kind of underrate Paddy in a sense, because I do think his grappling is really solid, and he is quite big for the 155 division, and I think he'll be able to take Bobby Green down and hold him down, if I'm being quite honest. Maybe it'll be a boring decision. If not Bobby Green, maybe Matt Frivola, Drew Dober, you know. These are two other fighters he could fight. But I think Bobby Green makes the most sense. Again, star power-wise, Bobby Green has a bit of a name. A lot of MMA casuals are quite aware of who Bobby Green is. And, you know, the build-up to this fight will be quite funny. Bobby Green called out Paddy Pimblett after his win against Jim Miller. I know he took a bit of damage against Jim Miller, but I wouldn't say it was anything significant. And I don't think Paddy the Baddie is going to be the one who would crack Bobby Green's chin and be able to put him away. You know, I think it's quite obvious that Bobby Green has better stand-up than Paddy the Baddie, but Paddy will be able to take him down and maybe get the submission win. I think he'll grind out a decision win personally. And I think that would, again, have some decent build. You get a marquee name in Paddy the Baddie on a UK card again. And I think that's some good matchmaking right there. I think it'll be solid on UFC 304. In the next matchup, we have Michael Venom Pagee taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Now, I feel like a lot of people would love this fight, including myself. Very interesting to see how this fight would play out. You know, two fighters. I think, is it both karate? I know Wonderboy is. I'm not sure what style of fighter Michael Venom Pagee is. Sorry if you're going to label me a casual for not knowing fucking, you know, Michael Venom Page's fight style. But, you know, they have a similar fucking fight style regardless. I think it'll be very interesting. You know, Wonderboy on his way out. But I think he still holds up quite well when it comes to striking fights. You know, he only really loses when it comes to grapplers. You know, Shavkat, Gilbert Burns, Belal Muhammad. You know, those sorts of fighters. When he fought like Jeff Neal, Kevin Holland, you know, he puts on a clinic. So I wouldn't mind this fight at all. I don't know whether it would actually happen, but I think this will be very solid, and I think you'll need a fight like this to help boost the card in terms of pay-per-view buys and generate more interest. You know, this has got to build some hype as well, because you got to think the main event, Belal Muhammad and Leon Edwards, a lot of people aren't going to be buying the card simply for that fight. Let's be honest now. It's mainly going to be Tom Aspinall, Paddy the Baddie, and again, if we get Michael Venom Pagee versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I think that would be a great addition to the card. I don't know who would win. I'd probably go with Michael Venom Pagee, but again, a very interesting fight, and I could see it being quite entertaining given how it plays out. Another fight that I believe should be on UFC 304 is Muhammad Mokaev versus Brandon Royval. Obviously, these two have been having back and forths on Twitter. They both got a win in the last outing. You know, Mokaev got that very lackluster win against Alex Perez, and Brandon Royval was able to get the decision win against Brandon Moreno. I feel like this fight makes a lot of sense. If Mokaev can win this fight, you got a new challenger for Pantoja, who Pantoja just keeps on running through everyone. Hence why he just took on fucking Steve Erceg, ranked 10 in the, you know, the rankings. So I wouldn't mind this fight at all. If Brandon Royval can win, you can probably make an argument for him fight Pantoja. Hopefully Royval doesn't win simply for that alone. But again, an interesting fight. I think Royval would win this if I'm being quite honest. But again, another UK fighter on the card. You could say this is a title eliminator fight really. And again, 3 rounds, quite high pace. You know, get Mokaev on there, get Brandon Royval back out there again. I'm not sure he took too much damage against Brandon Moreno. I think this is a very solid fight and quite an interesting one to see who could be next to Pantoja. After this, I'd like to see a fight between Arnold Allen and Josh Emmett. Obviously, Arnold Allen lost that close fight against Movsar Evelev. You know, very close fight. A lot of people believe that Arnold Allen should have won that fight. I can't really remember how I scored it. You know, it was quite close. I think I scored it for Arnold Allen, but Movsar got the nod. Regardless, close fight. And obviously Josh Emmett just got that nice knockout victory against Bryce Mitchell. Very brutal one-punch knockout power. And I don't see why you shouldn't have this fight on a UK turf. You know, I think it would add a lot. I actually think Josh Emmett would win this fight. I'd want Arnold Allen to win, but I don't know. I just have a weird feeling that Josh Emmett would plant one on Arnold Allen. and that would be it. I wouldn't want that to be the case, but it wouldn't surprise me if that happened at all. And I do genuinely believe, Emmett would win. I wouldn't want it to happen again. But I think this fight should be on UFC 304. It makes a lot of sense. Arnold Allen, other than he got dropped against Movsar, but I wouldn't say he took a lot of damage personally. And Josh Emmett, he's getting up there in age, but he didn't take any damage at all against Bryce Mitchell. So I think this fight makes a lot of sense, especially when it comes to the rankings. I think Arnold Allen's like 6th or 7th, and Josh Emmett is just behind him one spot. So it makes a lot of sense in terms of rankings and matchmaking in general. And those are just a handful of fights that I'd love to see on UFC 304. It takes place the 27th of July, so a nice little summertime pay-per-view for the UK. Hopefully the weather's good. We never know with the UK, usually it's fucking shit. But regardless, hopefully it's a good pay-per-view. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and maybe consider subscribing to the channel where we talk about more MMA and boxing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.